put that on. Okay. Welcome everybody to the Artemis Roads 2 Mission Advisor Support Session 1. The purpose of these meetings is to basically help you guys, help your students get through the Artemis Roads Challenge. So each of these support sessions, we're going to give you guys like little different chunks of information that hopefully will help you guys where you're at in the challenge. So right now, most of you guys are just getting started with it, and provide you with additional information. We plan this like over a long period of time, actually, but some of the activities that we coordinate, like the in-person events, they get pulled together a little bit later because we need to see how many people are participating and where those people are. Okay. So thank you guys for joining us. I know nobody likes another meeting. This is my third meeting today, so we'll try to make it fun. And at the end, by the way, I'm going to go through some slides here because it's being recorded, so it's cohesive, and I don't want to kind of get stopped in the middle of it for too long. So I'm going to go through the slides. I'll try to get through them relatively quickly, and then I'll give you guys a chance to ask questions at the end. If you have a burning question, we'll monitor the chat, so you can put your question in the chat. I might notice it and answer it, but certainly I will return to it at the end, and Anita can help me keep track of that. Okay, so let's get started. Before we go, I should introduce myself. For those of you guys that have not met me before, I'm the one on the left there. I'm Dr. Darcy Snowden. I am the director of NESB, and I'm also the PI on the NASA grant that funds the project. This is my other job. I'm also a physics professor at Central Washington University. And both Deanna and Anita are here with us today. These are the folks that if you guys are emailing info@NESB, if you're getting a phone call, if you're getting supplies, really they're doing the bulk of the work supporting the team. So if you have not met them before, it's nice to put a face to the name, and they work really hard. So I want to acknowledge them before we get started, and they might pop in and address some of your questions as well as we go. Okay, so what are we going to do today? We're going to give you just a very quick, because it's kind of fun to see where everybody is. I'll show you a map of the challenge participants. And then because we do get a lot of questions about specific information, I'm just going to quickly review kind of what's out there already in terms of figuring out how to complete the challenge. I'm going to talk a little bit about the mission development log and our new template that we're using this year. Give you some advice on how to find additional help to complete the mission objectives, a little bit on the companion course as well, although that's not the focus for today. And then at the end, I will let you guys know the dates and locations of our in-person challenge events. Okay, so this is the fun part. So at first I want to say welcome to all of you guys, but in general, if you're watching this recording, I want to give a big welcome to all of our Artemis Roads 2 challenge teams. It's really fun to watch the registrations come in and then put them on a map like this so you can actually see this is truly a national challenge where we've got teams participating from across the country. If you guys want to go to this link or look at scan the QR code, you can just have a version of this map where if you want to zoom in on your region and see who's near you, you can feel free to do that. I'll actually throw this out right now. If you guys want to put it in the chat where everybody here is located, feel free to put that in the chat. And I have another question for you that's kind of impromptu. I should have put it on the slide. But if NESB created a mechanism for you to interact with the other mission advisors in your area, would that be something that would be interesting to you? So just say, would you be interested in connecting with other mission advisors in your area through like maybe a Google group or something like that? Okay, we've had that feedback before. It's always hard to find the right platform because when you're dealing with schools, it's kind of a variety bag of things that are getting blocked and are allowed to use. So oh, you guys can't chat. Well, I'm seeing your guys' chat. Sorry. I'm seeing it. You can't chat to the whole group. Sorry. We'll maybe fix that for the next time. Oh, someone from Clallam. I live in Roslyn, so very nearby. Okay.
I can change it so it can be to everyone.
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine by me. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through the first part of this. So where to find information online and in the manual. Basically, what have we already put out there that helps you complete this challenge? The manual, if you guys haven't found it yet, you got to find the manual. So the manual is it's on our website, and I'll show you the link in a little bit where you can find it. But it is a PDF of the front matter is kind of describing the elements of the challenge, what the challenge is, what the deadlines are, what the schedule is. And then the middle part, the meat of it, is the actual description of the mission objectives. Okay. And there's lots of links in that go to our website, but the manual is really designed to be printed off and student facing. So this is something that if you wanted to, you could print off, put in a binder, and hand to your students to help them understand how to get through the challenge. So one of the things, I'm just going to go through and just show you guys some of the things that's in the manual that is helpful to you. Okay. This, that's on page 4 in the manual, how to complete the mission, this table. It gives you each of our challenge stages. These are essentially submission deadlines where we're going to ask for some material from you guys. Some of this material helps us run the challenge so we know how many teams are participating. We need to report back to NASA what the level of participation is and what the demographics are. So we ask for that information. And then some of it is to help you guys stay on track with your team. So you can give your team a deadline so they know how to keep up with a timeline to make sure they're completing the mission objectives in a timely way. Okay, we try to make an incentive for you guys to do these by sending out fun packages and recognizing your work on social media. Okay, so if you look here, you can see both what the submission is going to look like and then the deadline. And basically, we only have one submission page or one submission up at a time. So when liftoff closes tonight, we'll open up, or sorry, when injection burn closes, we'll open up lunar flyby relatively soon. So you can go in and look pretty early to see what's required, look at a preview of the form, and that will help you submit it before the deadline. Okay, so what to submit and when, I'll go over all of them, but I just wanted to note the ignition burn stage, that submission is due today. Okay, so today, February 7th, 2024. If you look in the manual is a static document. Sometimes we update it, but not very often. So we gave you guys a week extension. And this is the information that you need to include in the injection burn. So we need to know how many people are on your team so we can send you the right amount of stuff for our recognition package. And also, like I said, we need this information so we can help plan our events and report it back to NASA. And again, it helps you guys do this team building activity of creating the mission patch. And hopefully your team has done that. Hopefully you guys have uploaded this form. If you're having challenges, I can help you at the end of the session. Okay, what other stuff is in the manual? There is a schedule of things that are happening, okay? In some cases, when we printed the manual or finished it, we didn't know exactly the date and time of some of the things, such as the NASA expert. Those kind of come together when we interact with our SIAC partners. So if you're looking in there and you're like, I need to know exactly when the NASA expert talk is, just go to the events page, events and announcement page on our website. And that's where you can find the exact dates and times of those events, as well as the Zoom link. So how you could get here today, for example. So there's a little calendar on there. You can click on it, various ways to interact, but you can find information there for these specific events. All right, what's in the mission objectives? This is the thing that's really, truly supposed to be student facing. So you can hand these to students. Of course, you're going to have to provide some assistance, especially for the younger students, but it's short for a reason because we want students to actually feel comfortable getting through the whole document. We don't want to make it like the kind of lessons you guys have to read before teaching in a class. Okay, but what is in here that is helpful for you guys? Every single mission objective has a companion course lesson, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, that is aligned with it. And if you click in there, that's a much longer document, and it's got a lot of other resources that could help you help the students complete this mission objective. Nothing in that is required as part of the challenge, but it's there as a resource, okay? The deliverables part of the mission objective, that last part, that's the prompt to tell the team what they need to complete and put in their mission development log to have completed that mission objective. So at the end of the challenge, when we're looking for the teams that did every single mission objective, we're going to be looking at the deliverables that they put in their MDL as evidence that they completed that mission objective. Okay. We like to include opportunities to make the content local and culturally related or responsive. So when you see the little icon there, that's basically an invitation to the students or you guys to bring in some material from your community to help you complete that mission objective. So hopefully you guys are taking advantage of that. There's going to be more of that in the future. And then because we write one mission objective that goes all the way from 4th grade to 12th grade, a lot of them have this extra box here that tells you some grade level deliverables, so differentiation there. So a little bit harder challenges for the high school students and maybe a little bit something easier for the younger students. All right, so that's the manual. You guys should all be familiar with it. Take a look at it. Make sure to read those first 6 or 7 pages that really has like the intro to the challenge. The NSBE website also has additional information. So there is an Artemis 2 page. It's got the manual on it. Okay, that's one of these links here, the top one shown in this box. That's right on that front page of the Artemis Roads page. Okay. And then it also has some additional support for you throughout these other links. So I'm going to go through some of those now. Okay. If you're curious about the supplies, we sent a lot of you guys supplies for basically everything that's available for NSBE, and we're still shipping some supplies. So if you haven't gotten them yet, they're probably on the way unless you've heard from Deanna something else. Okay. But some of you guys maybe don't need supplies from NSBE, or maybe you need more supplies than what we sent you, or you want them anyways for maybe teaching this in a class. So on this page, it has the supplies that we sent you. And if you click on the links, you can find where we bought them if you want to purchase them yourself. It also has some additional supplies that we did not provide that we think you will need to complete that mission objective. And then these are kind of linked throughout, but it also has the full list of our tutorial videos that Kenneth, our assistant, put together for us. And those are really fun and definitely student facing. It has a schedule on it. Okay, so I already showed you guys the schedule, but there's also there's an events kind of general schedule, but there's also a specific Artemis Road schedule. All of the events are going to be on both that are related to Artemis Road, so it doesn't really matter which one you look at. But it's another table with important dates. That one, because it's easier for us to change the website than the manual, we might go in there and try to keep that up to date. And then we also have our links to the video meetings and things like that. And now I need to blast out. I hope you guys can all join us for our first NASA expert talk, which is a week from now. And this again is intended to have students show up. It's best if they can show up live because then they get to ask questions and get responses from our NASA expert live. And they really love asking questions. We always get a lot of great questions, but it is recorded and it will be available later for teams that aren't able to make it live. Okay. You can download the flyer if you like. This is available for people that are doing the challenge and the companion course. So, and if you want to invite other folks in your community, we're not going to kick anybody out. Okay. All right. What else is on here? There's also a page called Artemis Roads Resources and Frequently Asked Questions. And this has a page that's just frequently asked questions. So if you have a question, you might look at that page because we do get a lot of common questions and it may already be answered there for you. It has those links that are at the end of the mission objectives. If you want to just go to one spot on a website and click on the links there, rather if like your PDF the links aren't working, you can find the links on this page, and we might add some links as we go. And then if you're looking for the NASA media release forms, they're also on this page. Okay, so that is our little intro of like where you can find information. So spend some time if you're feeling like you need some help with the challenge, looking at those resources and exploring what's available out there. All right, so the first thing your team's going to need to do is complete the mission development log, which we always refer to as the MDL because we are part of NASA and NASA loves acronyms. Okay. So the mission development log is a really important component of the challenge. It allows students to keep track of what they've accomplished. It's an opportunity for them to learn the importance of record keeping in science and engineering and lots of other fields. Okay. And it also allows them to submit and show evidence of their work to NSBE, okay? This year we have an MDL template to kind of simplify what you guys have to do and also simplify the kind of variety of things that we get at the end of the challenge. It's fun to get a variety of things, but it's hard for us to compare apples and oranges, okay? So just some of the must for it. It should include slides for all the MDLs completed. You can add slides to the template. It's got a limited number of slides. You can add more if you need to. And completed is like italicized there because I want to emphasize that teams are not required. All teams are not required to complete all of the mission objectives. Okay, so if they didn't complete a mission objective, just take it out. It has to be less than 50 slides. That's the final version of it that you submit to NSBE, and that includes the blue slides, but the yellow slides can be deleted. It has to be submitted to NSBE as a PDF, so you'll have to download it either from PowerPoint or Google Slides and submit it as a PDF. If it has student faces in the pictures, please include the NASA media release forms. That's just a legal thing. We're not really allowed to see the students' faces unless we have permission from their guardians. If you don't want to grab NASA media release forms, that's fine. Just don't include those pictures. We can see the back of their heads. We just can't see the front. And then really you should have the students complete this, okay? We can kind of tell when mission advisors completed it instead of the students. We really want to see the students' work, you know, and we know it's not going to be perfect if it's completed by 5th graders or 6th graders, okay? And that's fine. Okay, so let's take a look at it. You got yellow slides, okay? There's a lot of text on this yellow slide. This is straight out of the MDL template. The yellow slide should be deleted before your final submission. They're really just instructions on how you should use this template. They've got links to some of the either stuff on the website or documents you might need, okay? But they're just designed to be instructions. You can leave them in there until you're ready to submit it if you like, okay? We ask you just to upload image of that NASA media release form into your MDL. So that's the easiest way for us to keep track of which teams have image release forms and which ones don't. Okay, and then the first slide that we'll see in terms of what it is like a title slide. So make sure to include the team name, the team number, and the mission patch. There's a table of contents that the students can complete as they go, but should definitely be completed before they upload it at the end. Okay. And there's a little bit for them to tell us what NASA expert talks they attended. We are gonna pick for Kennedy, the teams they don't have to attend both NASA expert talks live, but they do have to at least watch a recording. You can shrink, Jen, I saw Jen's comment. You can just shrink down the NASA media release forms small so they all fit on one slide. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah, you can put all the media release forms on one slide, okay? Okay, so the blue slides are basically guidelines. You don't need to change these. These are instructions for each mission objective. So there's one for each mission objective. This one's kind of unique because it's for MO1, the mission development log, in terms of having the final submission guidelines. But again, it's more specific instructions. A lot of what I'm talking about here. Okay. And then the white stuff is what the students are going to work on. So this is where they can include what's the deliverables are for that mission objective. And there's some gray text in there, the lighter gray text, those are prompts. So they should delete that and replace it with their own text and images. It is going to be uploaded as a PDF, so I don't recommend putting video in there unless you want it to be video. That's fine if you're using it for something else, but we won't be able to watch the video. You can add more white slides if you need to. So if you need more white slides to describe what happened in that mission objective, that's fine. Just know you can't go over a total of 50 slides. Okay, so here's another example for MO4. Again, checkpoint guidelines, final submission guidelines, okay, and what that looks for. So again, you can go through this and help your students. They can take pictures of, they don't have to type everything. If you got young students, they can take pictures of a notebook they've been working on. If they hand wrote what they did, calculations or drawings, you can take pictures of that and then copy that and paste that picture onto the slide. Yeah, you can, Dawn, that's a good question. Dawn asked if I can add background or if the kids can add backgrounds. Yeah, they can add backgrounds to the slides if they want. They don't have to be white. That's totally fine, and that would be great. Okay. Directions for submitting your MDL. That's at the very end of this deck, okay? And I went over some of them already, so I'm not gonna dwell on it, but if you want those specific directions, that's in there as well. Oh, yeah. Anita, or yeah, can you maybe put a link to the mission manual in the chat? I'm not good enough to do that. I can certainly do that, Jenny, by the end of the thing, but I can't do it while I'm talking here. Okay, so what to submit and when. I just want to go back to this because in the next submission, the March 15th one, we are going to ask students to submit their MDL. And it's going to be a work in progress at that point. It does not need to be complete. Okay, we know they are maybe not done doing the challenge by March 15th, but we do want them to show that they have completed MO2, that's the mission patch one. And they need to show evidence that they have started working on an additional 3 mission objectives of their choice. Okay, but it can be a work in progress. Basically, we want to see some evidence that they're working on the challenge. That being said, I know it's a work in progress. Still, please keep it less than 50 slides when you upload that one. Thanks, Anita. Okay, and then re-entry, that's the final submission deadline on June 5th. That's when they're going to download the MDL and submit their complete one. So it should have a completed MO1, that's the mission development or mission development log, mission objective. MO2 is mission patch. So those ones they definitely just do by default. And then any additional MOs, they should complete them. So they're final. But they don't have to do all of them. I'm going to remind that again. If they don't have all of them, that's fine. But whatever ones they completed, they should fix those up so it's in their final version. And then delete the yellow slides and everything like that. Make sure it's less than 50 slides, and that's what they're going to be uploading. Jen, all MOs do not need to be done before the live event. You can do that. A lot of educators have given us the feedback that they're going to tell their team that because they don't want to do this for the rest of their lives. Maybe they don't want it extending it all the way to June 5th. So you can certainly tell your team it has to be done by the May event, but we're not making that a requirement. Okay. And the reason for that is that the events are happening all different times. So we're trying to be fair and just say June 5th for everybody. Okay. So how do you find, that's the MDL. Hopefully you guys feel comfortable with that. Again, if you have questions, throw them in the chat or hold on to them for the end. Okay, we have some resources, again, for getting help with completing specific mission objectives. Some of them are challenging if you have not done that type of material yourself. Okay, so mission objectives, again, there are 8 of them, or really there's only 7 because the 8th one is kind of the final closeout where they put everything together. So there's nothing new in that one, but there are 7 of them. The first 2 aren't too bad. Getting to the moon is a rocket one. That one can be challenging. Building habitats on the moon, that's the one we have 3D pens for, and regolith. That one's not too challenging. There are some safety considerations with the regolith, so make sure you're paying attention to that. Gardening on the moon is a plant one, so that's one that could take quite a bit of time. So if they're not done with that one by May, that's okay, right? Because maybe they're still doing their plant experiment. And then studying the Earth from the moon, that one doesn't require any materials. So if you don't have your materials yet, you could think about starting that one. Roving from the moon is the robot one, okay? Mission objectives do not have to be completed in order. Okay, we put them in an order that kind of makes sense if you're doing a mission, but they don't have to be completed in that order. All right, so how do we get help with mission objectives? Okay, the first recommendation I have is to explore the detailed guidance in the companion course lesson. If you're looking at the rover one thinking, I don't know how to program a robot, check out in there. It's maybe a little bit too much for just giving that link to a student, although maybe you could if it's a high school student. But there's material in there that you could directly share with students once you looked through it. Okay, there are resources in the resources link on MOs and the Artemis Roads resource link page, including those tutorial videos, but other resources from NASA as well. You could register your team for an SB office hours, then you could just come talk to us and ask your questions. You can come to office hours. You can come to office hours with your team. your team can come to office hours without you, okay? So you can just tell your students, show up for office hours and ask that question, okay? At the end, you could contact info@NSB. That's kind of, try to make that the last thing you do, or make sure you're like looking at these other resources first, because we get a lot of email in the inbox, and it may be hard for us to respond to you quickly. All right, so what's in the Artemis Roads Companion course? It's 4 units, 11 lessons. This is designed for the educators that are doing this challenge as part of a class, but it's also designed because we heard from educators that they wanted more details about how to complete these mission objectives, but we did not want to send you guys a binder, right? A thick binder with a ton of stuff that you could not directly share with your students. But it certainly is very much related to the challenge and is a useful resource. So just to give you some examples of that, MO3 is the rocket one, getting to the moon, okay? If you look at that lesson, not only do you have links to the video tutorial with tips for building and launching the rocket, there are slides and worksheets and activities that are appropriate for in or out of class about the physics of building a stable and high-flying rocket. So you can introduce students to rocketry through those activities, and that will help them figure out what they need to do to their rocket to help it fly high. And we can talk about these specific mission objectives in future sessions. And you can always sign up for NSB office hours if you are not familiar with the content in that lesson. Okay. For roving on the moon, we've got multiple videos, and actually we're probably going to put one more up within the next couple of weeks. But there's also, again, slides, worksheets, and activities and additional information that will help students and educators start on programming their robot, including how to download the software, start your first program, move your robot straight, turn your robot, okay? All that stuff is in there. For the older students, we're asking them to make the My blocks, which are like functions in programs, and there's a video that will help them do that as well, okay? So that's a good resource to help them get started. Those are 2 of the harder mission objectives, and there's similar stuff for the other ones as well. Okay, so what if you're just doing the companion course and not the challenge? What's available for you? You can no longer request classroom supply loans because that deadline has passed. We are in shipping mode for challenge, not shipping mode for new companion course request. But you can still join us at NSB office hours. If you have a question that is not addressed there, you can still email us at info@NSB. We're still available to answer questions just like you are a participant in the challenge. Okay, and if you like the stuff and you wish you had more knowledge, we will be doing another professional development workshop for next year's challenge. So sign up for that. That's the best way to really get in there and learn. All right, dates and locations of in-person challenge events. So a lot of you guys that have probably done this year after year, this is the only reason why you're here, because you already knew that other stuff. Okay, so we tried to get this information out a little bit earlier for you guys this year. And before I show you where they are, I just want to remind you that MO8 is the one that you should look at. This is mission objective 8 to help your team prepare for these final challenge events. So the point of it is to give teams some guidance on how they can showcase the parts of their mission they have completed or have made significant progress on. In terms of the events, they will all be one-day events. There may be, in some special cases, an unrelated thing that you're invited to that happens over another day. But the actual part where they have to do the challenge material will happen during one day. The schedule will vary by location, but generally it might occur between 8 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. Yeah, I'll get there, Raul. And Jenny, I don't know. How do you check? So you should have, Jenny Good asked if she's not sure if she's signed up for a classroom supply loan, going back a little bit. If you fill out any form on our website, you should get a confirmation email. So just Google your email and see if you have something from NSB that implied you filled out that form. Okay, so why should you attend an event with your team? Okay, we think the in-person events are vital to the challenge because students have been working individually at their classes or in their groups at home, but we want them to be able to showcase their achievements to the other challenge teams, but also to our NSB partners and other people we invite to these events. And this also gives them an opportunity to get some feedback and assistance. If they're really struggling with programming the robot or getting it to do what it needs to do, right? This is an opportunity where they can come and meet with other students and get help, or meet with NSBE staff or volunteers and get help. What we really want to do in terms of what NSBE, the whole point of it is, which is to inspire students to pursue STEM careers and degrees. We want to make sure that we're providing students with an opportunity to have a college or community college campus experience. So we do want to bring you guys, or get the students on the campus so they can see what that feels like and see some of the facilities. We want to facilitate interactions with STEM professionals. So there will be talks from scientists or engineers at these events. And I think they're fun. I think the students have fun. We keep them pretty busy and we keep them challenged during the events. Okay, so where and when are they? Okay, unfortunately, you guys saw the map with all the challenge teams. They're all across the country. We can only provide so many hubs at this point, and that's based on our level of staffing and our budget. So this could evolve in the future as we get clumps of teams in different areas. But right now, the yellow dots on that map are our current hub locations. We've got 2 in Idaho because it's a really long, weird shaped state. Those are happening in April. We've got 1 in Texas, and that's going to be in Austin. That's happening in May. We've got 1 in Montana in Bozeman. That's on May 21st, a Tuesday, which seems weird, but they talked to their teams about that date. So if you're in Montana, you probably heard from them. Arizona is on June 1st on a Saturday. Here in Washington, we're at Central where we are, and that's on May 4th. And North Carolina, which is in Silva, North Carolina, a place I'd never been, is on April 29th. Okay. So those are the in-person opportunities that we're offering this year. And the people on the right-hand side there, some of you guys might know those people because maybe they brought you into the challenge to begin with, but those are the contacts and the leaders for those specific events. Okay, so how do I register my team? Somebody asked this in here. Good. So during the lunar flyby, that's the March 15th submission, you'll have to have decided whether or not you want to come to an in-person challenge event, because at that point you can register your team for attendance at a specific event and also request travel support. Okay. So that's one reason to fill out that particular one. That's one reason why we want the teams to show some evidence. They've been working on the challenge, so we don't have teams coming that haven't done anything at all. But you know, if you're one of these ones that's happening in April and early May, don't stress out too much. They do not have to have completed the whole challenge. Okay. This is also a deadline where Deanna has been kind. And if you signed up 10 teams and now you have realistically 6, because you've got some students maybe dropped out and you're consolidating teams, you can adjust your team composition at that point if necessary, if things have changed. And then as soon as you register for the event, you'll be contacted by that event coordinator with more details about the specific schedule of that event and how the travel support will go. Okay. What kind of support is available? Definitely food. So if you come to the challenge event, you will be fed and your team members will be fed. Okay. We don't want hangry STEM students out there. If the students have spectators and family coming, it's a little bit of a case-by-case basis, but for the most part, we probably won't be able to feed them, and that is a federal grant limitation. We feed participants, and so we may not be able to feed a lot of family members, but that will be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. But maybe just don't expect that. Travel support guidance. Again, I want to note that how this plays out is going to depend on the number of teams coming to each event and that particular budget. We will try to support all the teams that we can. And in the past, we've been quite good at supporting as many teams as need support, basically. But the typical type of travel support you might expect is mileage support if your team is driving over 2 or 3 hours. So that's cents per mile. Mileage support plus 1 night accommodation if you're traveling over 2 to 3 hours. So you don't have to leave at, I don't know, 4 in the morning unless you want to. and then mileage support and 2-night accommodations if you're traveling over 4 hours, okay? That will vary by event, but that's what we're looking at. And the housing will either be in dorm rooms or hotels, depending on the location. Okay. Jessica asked, when will we get notice if we did get travel support? It will probably be it's tough because it depends on the date. This is my life. I'm like, hey, everybody, let's do your events in these 2 months. And then they kind of get spread out. But the ones that are going to be a little bit tight looking at this list is like the Idaho South event. So those people will probably find out pretty soon, right away. If you're registering on March 15th, it may be a week or 2 before you get confirmed travel support. Okay. I would say that you should probably expect to get it in terms of your planning, your individual planning, if that helps. But we may not be able to tell you until a couple weeks after that March 15th deadline. All right. Could teams from out of state like Cali have an opportunity to come? Yes. So Rachana has participated many years. It's really hard because we do have these individual events that are, or teams that are far from any of the hubs. Unfortunately, we don't really have the funding to pay for flights to get to the events, but surely if you want to try, if you could go to one. I will say, I'm going to put this last slide up here. Okay. If you are in a region where there's a number of teams, but there's not a hub event nearby you, we are interested in opportunities to get those teams together, maybe piggyback on a STEM night that's already happening or a science fair that's already happening. And we could potentially support you by sending additional supplies for that. So if that's something that you think you could help facilitate, let us know. For everybody else, if you're not near an in-person challenge event, there is an option to submit virtually. BO8155 asked, any limits of teams going to hubs 5, 10, 15? There are some some of the events might put a limit on the number of teams. But I do not know specifically what that would be. Yeah, Susan is in the chat. Susan from Idaho. I'm having a hard time. Okay, time for questions. Good. That's the end of my spiel. Thank you guys. I know that's boring to sit there and look at slides, but I wanted to get through the information. I'm going to address the idea of team limits. In the past, the Texas hub has put limits on the number of teams. They may choose to do that again, and they have their reasons for doing that. None of the other hubs, as far as I know, are going to limit the number of teams going unless things go to ludicrous level and there's, 80 teams or something like that. But I think I wouldn't worry about that, except for maybe in Texas. Okay, I see that, Brent. Okay, we will note that. Yeah. Oh, Meg. Yeah, I realized that was an issue last year with the Texas event. I will get back to you on that. We haven't specifically talked about that. I think they have a budget for more teams this year, so I'd expect them to support more teams. Okay, yeah, let's look at the map. I don't know if there's let's see. I will tell you the North Carolina event, like that's kind of at one school because there's a mission advisor that does it with a lot of teams. So if you're in that situation, you've got 10 teams at your school, you can also do your own little hub event. Let me go through and address any more. Karen, you cannot go to more than one event. So only one event per team. And I think some of the ones in the Northwest, maybe you could go to more, but you guys don't want to do that. You need your own free time too. When is the first day? Okay, I answered that one. Do I have a transferee is able to register on the injection burn? Okay,